Welcome to Shredder Fanfic. Like, subscribe, and hype video. Join members to gain early access to new videos. The main character, after dying, he gets reborn in Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon, and he gets reborn as the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails from the anime Naruto. What will the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails do inside of there?
I will be careful. You stay quiet, I said. If I call, push a little, no more. Okay. Otter watched my feet. I watched his shoulders. He did not posture. There was no warning. He stepped and the distance vanished. His right hand cut for my shoulder without wind-up, a simple path with heavy weight behind it. I slid left and raised my forearm. The blow met bone and drove me 2 steps back, heel digging into dirt. No numbness, just reliable pressure that did not waste strength. Fast, he said. Careful, I answered. He moved again. Left hand this time, a low hook for the ribs. I leaned in rather than away and let it pass close, palm setting on his wrist, sliding it clear without a lock. He let me move him, then reset, unbothered. Bell let out a small breath. Luke held his. Ragnar's eyes narrowed a little. Ven grinned. Kurama pressed warmer, every tail alert. He is not even trying. He's reading, I said. So am I. Otter pushed forward with a short combination, testing space. 2 jabs to interrupt my eyes, an elbow to take center. I turned my chin and let the jabs brush air, then stepped under the elbow and tapped his forearm with 2 fingers, nothing showy. He adjusted the angle and would have clipped my temple if I had not slid again. I let Chakra run to my feet in a small, thin thread, quiet and steady. No cloak, no flare, just more spring in ankles and a cleaner stop. Otter's gaze flicked to my stance. He noticed. Something, he said. Enough, I returned. He took another step, and this time the weight changed. The next strike would break ribs if it landed. I shifted my center lower, set my left palm forward and called Kurama's help. Warmth ran up my spine. Fingers tightened. The world did not slow. My body simply obeyed more cleanly. Otter's fist came straight. I met it, palm to knuckles. The impact pressed me 3 steps back, heel to fence. My arms shook and the boards creaked, but I stayed upright, fingers still on his glove. Ven's eyebrows rose. Ragnar's grin went a fraction sharper. Bell stared with his mouth open. Luke whispered something too low to catch. Kurama whispered, surprised. You held it. Short burst, I told him. Stop. Stopped. I let go of Otter's hand. He took 1 more step, then stopped. His gaze settled lightly on the faint red flush that had touched my forearm and was already gone. Interesting, he said. Test over, I answered. He looked at Hestia. She stared back and did not speak. He nodded once to me and stepped back from the center. Freya-sama asked for certainty. She has it. He turned his head and called to the street without raising his voice. Report, he blocked. I did not look to see where she listened from. It did not matter. Hestia moved to my side. Enough, he leaves. Otter inclined his head to her, then to me. To Bell as well, which made Bell jolt and bow too fast. Then he went to the gate. The 2 attendants fell in behind him. They treated it like any patrol, no show. The yard held quiet for a full 10 breaths. Luke finally spoke. That was real. Ragnar looked at my hand. How much did that take? A little, I said. Ven's grin settled. He was holding back. Of course, I replied. Bell swallowed, voice small. Shiro-san, you stopped him. For 1 strike, I said. He could take it further. I did not let him. Hestia let out a breath and pressed her palm against my shoulder for a second. Do not do that again, without warning. Noted, I said. Kurama relaxed. He is gone. He will be back, I said to him, or someone else will be. Do we eat now? Yes, I said, we eat. I put my coat on and went inside. Word moved faster than doors closing. By afternoon, Hermes was in my chair with his boots off, watching Bell and Luke drill. Hestia sulked at the far end of the table and would not look at him. Ragnar pretended to sleep where he sat. Ven hummed a tavern tune under his breath. Hermes smiled. So Otter came by, very casual, very normal, a nice, friendly greeting. I poured water and did not offer him any. You already knew. I did, he said. Freya Sama usually likes distance. This is different. Because I am different, I said. He wagged a finger. Because you are noisy, he squinted at my hand. Any breaks? No. Good, he said, unbothered. I told Hestia once to be careful with begging for trouble. She did not listen. Hestia glared at him. You are very helpful. He shrugged. It is my charm. He leaned his chin onto his knuckles and looked at Bell. You did not faint. Bell flushed, embarrassed. I am trying. Keep trying, Hermes said, then looked back to me. You know others will come, yes. Loki is laughing already. Freya will send more eyes. People without a banner will try to attach themselves to yours. Good, I said. More workers. Hestia puffed her cheeks. They are not workers, they are my children. They work, I said. Hermes grinned, then stood and put his boots back on. You will either break Arario's boredom or Arario will break you open. I am interested in both possibilities. He tipped his hat to Hestia, winked at Bell, and was gone before Hestia could throw something at him. Luke sagged in relief. I can breathe again. Then swing again, I said. He sighed, lifted the wooden sword, and obeyed. Evening stretched calm and practical. We ate, refilled water, cleaned gear. Ragnar went into the city to replace a bent knife. Ven brought back extra bread without being asked. Hestia eventually stopped pacing and sat with Bell so he could show her small changes in his stance. She watched, focused more than angry now. I sat with the ledger open, running numbers. Drops from the training week sat tabulated. Potion cost, repair cost, food cost, emergency stash, Kurama's 50% reserve. The line that mattered was the open cash for recruitment and upgrades. Kurama watched me work, curious. We still have a lot. Enough for a few moves, I said. Not enough to relax. What do we buy? Time first, I said. Then steel. He quieted. His warmth sat steady, content. A knock came again, softer this time. Bell looked up and Hestia held up a hand to stop him. I moved to the door and opened it. Einar stood there with a folder under one arm, hair neat, green eyes tired but intent. May I? Come in, I said. She did. She stood just inside the room and did not sit. Otter tested you. Yes. She pushed her glasses up. It is illegal for a war game to happen without guild sanction. That is done. It is not illegal for a god to send their child to observe. That does not mean it is healthy. Hestia folded her arms. Thank you, I told him. Einar nodded to her. You did. She set the folder on the table. We have incident reports from the street fight with Apollo Familiar, repair notices after the war game, and 2 written complaints about your recruitment methods. Her eyes slid to me. Please adjust your methods so I can spend less time filling documents. You can throw away the complaints, I said. I cannot, she said. I can make sure the paperwork is slow. She looked at Bell. You did well. Keep your head low when you cannot win. Keep moving. She looked at Luke. You did not run, that matters. Keep your blade high. She left the folder and then left the house. Einar never stayed longer than needed. Hestia opened the folder, saw the number of pages, and closed it immediately. Boring. Important, I said. She scrunched her nose. You read it then. I will. She looked at me for a long second. Her voice softened a fraction. Do not let him hit you again. I will try, I said. She nodded, just once. The next morning I took Bell and Luke to Babel to stand in line at the smith's. Ragnar and Ven went to the guild exchange to cash yesterday's small haul and purchase cheap explosives and extra straps. They moved like pairs who had done this before joining us. Kurama followed the smells on the street and hummed at every stall until I promised roast later. He was quiet a moment. If Otter punched again, could you block? Not without losing a lot of blood, I said. Not yet. Yet, he repeated, nodding in my mind. I will be bigger later. Eat more, I said. That helps. He preened at that, pleased. We went to a Hephaestus branch shop, not the main smithy. This one had a quartermaster with a scar on his lip and a practical face. I put coin down and pointed at 2 blades with better balance and a set of braces for tight parries. The quartermaster watched Bell's grip, watched Luke's posture, and swapped my choices without explanation for a set that fit their frame better. Thank you, I said. He grunted. I hear you're a headache. Then he pocketed my coin and brought a bottle of oil for free. If a Freya child stalks you on the way home, do not fight in front of my door. Noted, I said. Bell ran his fingers along the new sword with quiet focus. Luke tested the weight 3 times and did not smile, but the tension around his mouth relaxed. We stepped back onto the street. Freya Familiar did not block the way. They did not need to. The city carried the message without bodies. Back home, the yard filled with slow drills. I had Bell cut the same diagonal angle 50 times with no power. Then he adjusted footwork and repeated. Luke worked a guard progression until he could do it with his eyes closed. Ragnar took Ven through an exchange with live blades at half speed and kept time with a cluck of his tongue. He did not smile for once. That meant he cared. Hestia watched from the shade and did not speak for a while. When she did, it was basic. Bell, keep your shoulders down. He did, and his blade stopped wobbling. She looked at Luke. Breathe. He exhaled, and the tightness in his jaw loosened. Kurama watched it all. We have a pack now. We have people who pay me, I said. And I am happy, he replied. Good. Late afternoon, a small shadow touched the gate and stopped. One of Freya's quiet ones, a woman with plain hair and eyes that looked past people to what surrounded them. She carried a folded note and did not step inside. For Shiro, she said. Ragnar moved first to intercept. I waved him off and took the note. It held a single line. You blocked. That was all, no flourish, no demand, no signature. I showed it to Hestia. She crumpled it without reading twice and dropped it in the basin so the ink ran. They are not taking you, she said. I know, I said. Luke's hand wobbled on his second line of drills. Bell steadied it with a look. Focus, Bell said to him, surprising himself with his own tone. Luke nodded once and continued. Evening brought Hermes again, and Maich with him, both careful at the door until Hestia waved them in. Maich offered tonic without a price, and said the bruises would go faster if Bell drank 2 sips in the morning and 2 at night. Hermes saw my ledger still open and peered at numbers until I shut it with 2 fingers. You are making a map, he said. I am making profit, I said. Same thing for some people, he answered. Maich rested a hand on the table. If Freya's eyes keep coming, keep the house lamps low at night. They prefer dark corners to windows. Do not make it a show. Hestia relaxed a fraction at his calm delivery. Thank you, she paused, then muttered, for being reasonable. He smiled at that small jab and did not take offense. When they left, Hestia gathered all our used wraps and took them to wash without drama. Her movements were brisk and annoyed, but she did not stomp. Bell and Luke both stood to help without being asked. Ragnar and Ven cleared the yard. I stayed at the table and wrote the day's totals. Kurama counted every meat skewer we had eaten in a rumbling whisper until I flicked his ear in my head, and he laughed. Night settled. The house felt full and held. No footsteps outside lingered past the point of caution. No new knocks came. The quiet was not empty, it was earned. Bell sat on the step and stared at his new blade in the moonlight. Luke sat beside him, then finally chuckled once, tired and honest. Ragnar nudged Ven with an elbow and pointed to a knot in the fence that needed patching. Ven nodded, went to fetch a small hammer, and fixed it because it annoyed him. Hestia came to the table and set a cup of tea in front of me without a word. I lifted it, sipped, and set it down. "You are still here," she said after a while. "Yes," I said. She let out a small breath that was not quite relief and not quite surrender. "Good." Kurama curled deeper, warm and content. "Tomorrow is food and training." "Yes," I said, "and choices." "Okay." I closed the ledger and let the room be quiet. Chapter 42. More hands, sealed words. Morning routines held. The yard carried the steady sound of wood on wood, while Bell and Luke repeated cuts without power. Ragnar sat on the steps counting their rhythm under his breath. Ven watched their feet and corrected Luke's heel position with a tap and short nod. Hestia hovered near the door, arms crossed, eyes on me more than on them. Kurama stirred. "We are safe today." "For now," I told him. "We keep moving." I had the ledger open. Numbers were clean. War game winnings were not coin. They were reputation and the removal of a god who wasted time. The real money came from the week of runs and the street fight distractions that let us pick easy routes without crowds blocking spawn zones. 50% set aside for Kurama, 25 to me, 10 emergency, 10 supplies, 5 to Hestia. That left a separate envelope I had marked for expansion. It was not large, but it was enough to change headcount. I closed the ledger and looked at Ragnar and Ven. "Take a walk with me." They stood without questions. Hestia's chin lifted. "Why?" "Staffing," I said. Her cheeks puffed. "If you say what I think you're going to say." "I am," I said. "We will not wait for luck to bring them to us." She stamped once and held it. She knew the conversation already. Bell paused, glanced between us, and resumed his drills. Luke pretended not to listen and failed. We moved through the streets, turning into narrower lanes where cart wheels didn't bother to go. The air smelled like old wood and oil. I stopped at a door with a clean handle and a worn threshold. The trader answered himself. He recognized me, then Ragnar and Ven, and his smile had the same careful weight. "Back so soon." "I need 3, I said. "Alive, capable, no oaths to anyone." He glanced past me and took stock of the wolfkin. "You liked quality last time." "They're still alive," I said. He stepped back, this way. Kurama shifted. "You buy more." "Yes," I said. "More food later." "Yes." The back room was cleaner than anyone wanted to admit. A lockbox bolted to a table, 3 benches, a second door to cages. The trader did not go to those immediately. He watched me and decided the speed. "You want fighters," he said, "not house help." "Correct." "I have 2 who touched the dungeon without a familiar," he said. "They paid for a guide. It went badly. They came back with scars and debt. They agreed to contracts to clear it. I have 1 more who fought as a guard and lost work. He punches and keeps standing." "Show them," I said. He took us to look. I saw eyes first. That mattered more than muscle. Tired was fine. Empty was not. First, a Borkin man in his 20s with cropped hair, thick shoulders, and a healed line under his left eye. He rose when the trader called, came forward to the bars without bouncing. He did not put his hands through the metal. "Name," I said. "Garm," he said steady, voice clear, no slur. "Dungeon floors." 3 to 5, he answered. Once to 7 with a guide. He got eaten. We ran back up. "Weapon." "Knuckles and mace," he said. "I don't like swinging for long. I like ending it." Ragnar's eyes held his for a second, and then Ragnar looked at me. "Good." Second, a catkin woman with a rope of hair down her back, eyes bright and focused. Thin scars around fingers, not house marks. Those were from climbing or rope. "Name," I said. "Sina," she said. "I'm fast. I don't stand still. I don't like standing still. Flaws. 3, she said. I was hired to bait for 2 teams. They did not pay after, so I am here. Weapon. Short blade, throwing, she said. I don't waste knives. Ven's grin twitched. He did not show teeth, his ears tilted, approval. Third, a human woman around my age with practical braids and a simple padded vest. A split lip healed wrong and a dense bruise fading near the collarbone. Name, I said. Marin, she said, steady. Spear, guard work, not a novice. I don't like bosses who hit their own people. Flaws. Only 3, she said. I want more. Kurama leaned in, curious. They will follow. They will if I feed them and keep them alive, I said. The trader watched my eyes. Cash and contracts. How much? I said. He named prices. He raised them because of yesterday's talk, not by much. He wanted coin and repeat business. He wanted an easy client who didn't break his door. 2 for list, I said, pointing to Garm and Marin. 1 for half, I said, pointing to Sina. And I take them now. He started to open his mouth and then closed it. Deal. Ragnar, I said, check their hands. Ragnar stepped to each and took palms. He looked at calluses, lines, old breaks. He touched Sina's knuckles with a slow press, and they did not tremble. He nodded once. They work. Ven, I said, look at their feet. Ven crouched and checked boot where when they put legs through the bars. He shook his head at nothing and stood. They run. We paid. The trader produced contracts and keys. I counted coin by weight and touch, and did not need to finish the last pouch to see his shoulders relax. He put the key into the lock and opened the doors one by one. I stood with them, inside the room rather than in the hall, and gave rules without curve. You join Hestia Familiar. The goddess gives Falna. You hand me every Varles you earn in the dungeon. I feed you, house you, arm you, and keep you from dying if you listen. If you don't listen, you leave in an ash cloud or in debt. I choose your routes and teams. I decide if you fight that day. Any questions now? Garm nodded once. No. Marin met my eyes, then looked at Ragnar and Ven. Do I get a spear? Yes, I said, if you don't waste it. Sina looked me up and down. She didn't smile. Who do I stab if I don't like your roots? I did not blink. No one in the familiar. You stab monsters and the people I point to. You will know the difference. She shrugged. Fine, pay me in food and gear until you think I paid for myself. Then we will talk. She paused. I don't share a bed. No one is asking, I said. We left with 3. Back through the lanes where the city did not bother to look too hard. Hestia's door opened before I reached the steps. She took one look past me, sucked in breath, and planted herself in the frame. No. I stopped 1 pace from her and spoke without raising my voice. Give them Falna. Absolutely not, she said. This is not a market. It is, I said. You signed that power away when you let me pay your debt. Her jaw worked. She wanted to argue the words. She could not argue the reality. Bell had stepped out to stand behind her and looked at the 3 without hiding his shock. Luke stopped beside him and folded in on himself with his shoulders up. Ragnar leaned against the post and watched the street. Ven stared at Garm's knuckles and then at Marin's stance, and he did it like he was reading a list, not judging. I stepped just close enough to Hestia to speak to her without the yard hearing. Feed them and mark them or they work for someone else, and we see them across from us someday. She pressed her lips together and looked at Bell. That was her tell. She always checked him when she needed to ground her choice. He flinched, then squared his shoulders. Goddess, we can help them. Her eyes softened for 1 second. She moved aside. Inside, not on the street. We went in, shut the door, cleared the table. Ven and Ragnar stood at the wall like furniture. Hestia fumed until it passed through her and out of her shoulders. Then she exhaled and did the work she did well. Names, she said. They gave them again. She touched each back with clean hands and a small, careful sound that always came out of her throat when she focused. Script crawled and set. She read it with a steady voice, gave nothing extra, and kept it professional. It was the one space where her anger always stayed away. Belle watched the letters form like they were a miracle. Luke watched Hestia like he was trying to learn where to stand to be useful. I put bread and meat on the table. Garm ate directly, quiet and fast. Marin drank water before she touched food. Sina inspected the slice for knives with a fast glance and then ate it standing up. House rules, I said when they were done. Up at dawn, drills in the yard. Gear inspection every night. I assign teams after breakfast. Belle and Luke train with me unless I put them behind you to hold your backs. Ragnar commands the wolves. Ven takes scouting and settles arguments. You complain to me or to Hestia. You don't complain at the guild. Garm nodded. Marin took a breath and nodded after him. Sina rolled her neck and said nothing. Hestia sat at the end of the table and stared at me like she wanted to throw a cup and decided tea was better. You cannot do this every week. Correct, I said. We do it today. Kurama patted the back of my head inside. They will make money. If they live, I said, we will check that part. I took Ragnar and Ven aside. Tomorrow, floor 8 to 10, 6 persons split, no showing off. If one of them runs, you pull them down by the collar and put them behind you. We don't collect bodies on day 1. Ragnar nodded once. Understood. Ven scratched his jaw. I will keep the cat from racing. Sina's ear twitched. I heard you. Good, Ven said, satisfied. Belle moved close to Marin and held out his hand. Welcome. She took it firm. Thank you. Luke shook Garm's hand and did not pull away when the grip was heavier than expected. You're strong. Garm looked at his face for a second and then smiled once, a small thing that shifted his features. You get stronger or you break. That's what I learned. Hestia snorted, but did not fight the truth. The door knocked, short and crisp. No theater, no hesitation. Ragnar turned and moved at the same time as me. I opened it with him at my side. The man on the step wore no familiar colors. He carried a wooden tube with a wax seal and held it in both hands. His eyes went to mine and not anywhere else. For Shiro. I nodded to take it. He did not step inside. He bowed to Hestia through the doorway with proper respect and said nothing more. He left without watching his own back. That told me the message behind him would carry its own guard. I broke the seal in the yard where everyone could see the color. Silver wax pressed clean with a single sign, an eye-shaped mark with lines that could be read as a name if you already knew it. No one said it aloud. I read. Hostess of fertility, tonight, neutral ground, no weapons drawn, Otter will sit at my right. You may bring 2, come if you are curious, decline if you are not. Freya. Hestia's expression went from wary to furious in 3 seconds. No. Belle flinched. Luke's eyes widened, then slid to me. Ragnar watched the street again. Ven laughed once under his breath, short and bright. Sina took the cup that was sitting nearest and drank from it like it was hers. I folded the note and put it into the ledger. 2, I said. I choose Belle and Hestia. Belle jolted. Me. Hestia pointed at my face. You cannot just. I can, I said. If you want to watch, you come. If you don't want to watch, you still come. She made a small, strangled sound, and then stomped out of the room to go fix her hair for no reason, except she needed to move. Luke exhaled. I will practice here. Good, I said. Ragnar, Ven, you listen for feet outside. No one gets within 10 paces of the steps without you seeing their nose hairs. Ragnar's mouth lifted at one corner. Understood. Ven leaned in the doorway and called after Hestia. We will keep your church's floor clean. She yelled something incoherent from the hall, and I ignored it. I went to my room and changed into clean gear that did not look like a challenge. No plates, no cloak, just a shirt, a clean jacket, and boots I could move in. I checked the inside of the jacket pocket and left it empty. If I carried a knife into the hostess, Mia would take it out of my hand and put it into my forehead with a spoon. Kurama snorted softly. Food place again. Yes, I said. We will talk and eat. Ryu is there, he said, cheerful. He liked the calm in her movements. He liked the way she made plates sit on a table without sound. It impressed him in a simple way. We will see Ryu, I said. Bell stood in the hall adjusting his collar like the cloth was a trap. Hestia returned wearing the same ribbon and the same dress and a new expression. She looked like she intended to bite a goddess if required. I opened the door, and we stepped into the evening. The hostess of fertility glowed with windows and the steady rush of noise. Not magic, just people eating and shouting and clattering plates. I pushed the door open and let Belle and Hestia walk in first. Mia looked up from behind the bar. She took in our faces, and the line of my shoulders and her eyes narrowed. She had a way of telling you the rules without moving her mouth. No fighting, she said. No fighting, I agreed. Ryu passed with a tray, eyes cool and focused. She inclined her head to Hestia and then to me. Her grey eyes, smile that belonged to this room and other places, popped up on my left with a picture. You came early, she said to Belle with a teasing tone that made him blush up to his ears. We are here for a table, I said. Of course, she smiled. Reserved. She led us to the back. The table already held a carafe of water and 3 cups. Otter sat at the next table, not ours, placing his broad frame so he could see every exit and the kitchen door. He did not look at me. He did not need to. Freya sat across from our 3 empty chairs. Silver hair down, silver eyes steady, posture calm without taking space from anyone but still holding the air around her. 2 of her children sat at a 3rd table with their attention on the room and not on drinks. Hestia slid into the chair at my right. Belle took the one at my left, stiff as wood. I sat last and poured water. Then I poured for Hestia, then for Belle. I did not pour for Freya. So set 3 plates down without asking what we wanted. Meat, bread, and greens. She set a 4th in front of Freya without looking at her, and Freya accepted it like any customer. Freya placed her hands on the table, folded, still. Thank you for coming. Your note was clear, I said. Hestia leaned forward, all restraint burned off. Say what you want and leave. Freya's eyes went to her, light and unreadable. Then she went back to me. I wanted to see you again without dust in the air. Otter prefers to watch people move. I prefer to watch people sit. Then watch, I said. She looked at Belle next. He tried not to stare at her face. He failed. She did not smile. She looked at his hands and the way he kept brushing his thumb against the skin where the Falna text rested. You are steady today, she said to him. He squeaked, thank you. Hestia gripped the edge of the table. Stay on topic. Freya faced me again. You are building fast. Yes, I said. Ragnar and Ven brought you 3 more, she said. It was a statement, not a question. Yes, I said. You will take them down tomorrow. Yes. Her gaze dropped to my fingers for a second, then returned to my eyes. You held Otter once. You cannot hold him twice. Yes, I said. She breathed once, slow. Do you intend to challenge anyone with it? Not today, I said. Today I intend to eat. So smiled, because she loved lines like that in this room, and set a small bowl of sauce by my plate. Hestia's foot bounced under the table. You are not taking him. I know, Freya said. She said it without irritation. She set it in place like a plate. Belle looked between us, red eyes confused and earnest. Then why? To see how he answers questions, Freya said to him. Some people answer with nerves, some answer with hands. He answers the same either way. Kurama listened in my head and counted the people in the room by weight and movement. He liked the balance. He liked Mia's voice when she barked at a drunk 2 tables away. He liked the way Ryu put a mug down without any spill. He pressed close to me. She will keep watching. Yes, I said. We will keep eating. Yes. I took a piece of bread and tore it. No one moved to stop me. Otter lifted his mug and drank water with no sound. Ryu passed behind him and checked the way he held his shoulders, so replaced Hestya's empty cup without asking. Freya waited for me to talk first. That told me what I needed. Why here? I said. Because Mia will throw us all into the street if we pretend this is a temple, she said. Correct, I said. Hestya exhaled through her nose and didn't argue. Freya turned her head 1 degree toward Hestya. You are angry because it is easier than being careful. I am careful. Your child is careful. He is not my child, I said. Correct, she said. Hestya's eyes snapped to me and then back to Freya. Stop acting like you know anything. Freya lowered her gaze to the table for 1 second. It was the first small break in the straight line of her posture. Then it was gone. He blocked once. I wanted to see his face after he ate. That is all. I nodded. You saw it. I did, she said. So returned with another plate before Hestya could bite her tongue off. You are all very tense, she said lightly, brightly, with that voice that belonged to this room. Eat more. We did. Kurama settled deeper, full and calm. This place is safe. For now, I said. I like it. I know. Freya watched the way my hand moved to the cup again. She watched the way Bell read the slice of meat and cut it into even pieces like Einar had taught him. She watched Hestya wait to take her first bite until after I did, because she did not want to look like she was jumping to match. When she decided she had enough, she reached for her glass and stood. Thank you, she said. I will send another note when I have another question. Hestya rose on instinct. Do not send anything. Freya inclined her head to her, then to me, then to Bell. You did not faint, she said to Bell, and then she walked toward the door. Otter went first. Her 2 children followed. She did not look back. Mia watched them leave without moving. When the door shut, she nodded once, satisfied that nothing broke. Hestya sagged into her chair and dug her fingers into her hair. I hate her. I know, I said. Bell blew out a slow breath. That was a lot. It was a meal, I said. He nodded too many times. Right. So put a small wrapped sweet on the table by Bell's plate. He jumped. She laughed. Ryu's mouth tightened in something like disapproval and then loosened again because nobody died. We finished eating without words. When we stepped outside, the street air felt simple. No crowd, no messenger, just the line of the road back to the house. Hestya walked fast, hands clenched, shoulders set high. Belle hurried to keep up. I matched the pace because I did not want her to start shouting in front of the hostess door. Kurama's voice sounded smooth and full. Tomorrow. Training, I said, and I send Ragnar and Ven out early with the 3. I want them tired by noon. Then we eat again, he said. Yes. We turned the last corner toward the house. Ragnar sat on the steps when we arrived. Ven leaned against the post, counting the time by tapping his nails on wood. Ragnar stood, quiet. Ven nodded. 3 knocks while you were gone. Wrong doors. They kept walking. Good, I said. Sina had taken over the yard and was running laps without anyone telling her to. Garm did push-ups with clean form. Marin rested with a spearhead across her knees, eyes on the gate. Hestya looked at them, then at me. She did not lecture. She went inside and started boiling water for tea she would call medicine even though it was tea. Bell sat at the step and loosened his shoulders. Luke came to the door, saw all of us, and relaxed his face for the first time all day. I took out the folded note and set it near the ledger. The silver wax had broken in 2 clean pieces. I kept them because Kurama liked the way they felt under my thumb. I washed my hands and sat down to write tomorrow's routes. Chapter 43. Loki at the door. Morning held steady. Bell and Luke drilled without power in the yard. Ragnar counted steps under his breath. Ven corrected foot positions with a tap and a short nod. Garm did push-ups in sets and did not slow. Sina ran laps around the fence and kept a regular pace. Marin sat with a spear across her knees, watching the gate and the team. Hester and I spread route maps across the table. She kept tapping the corner of one sheet with her thumb, annoyed at the entire page. "We could keep them on floor 8 for a week," she said. "We could," I said. "We won't." She squinted at the lines. "You like moving too fast." "I like money," I said. Kurama shifted, warm and awake. "The wolves will take them tomorrow." "Yes," I said. "Bell stays." "For forms and breathing," I said. "Then he goes down the next day." Knuckles tapped the door twice, then a third time. Calm, unhurried, not Hermes, not Einar, not Freya's runners. The sound landed and stayed in the room after it stopped. Hestia stiffened. "Who now?" I stood and opened it. Loki leaned against the frame with a grin she wore like a habit. Short, red hair, eyes sharp and bright. Reveria stood half a pace behind her, posture straight, gaze steady, ears alert and still. They looked past me into the room and took stock in one glance. Hestia's mouth tightened. "No." Loki gave her an easy wave. "Hey, shorty." Hestia raised a finger. "Do not start." Reveria inclined her head. "Good morning, Hestia, Shiro." "Morning," I said, casual. "You're early." "News moves," Loki said, stepping inside without asking. "Also, you're fun." Reveria followed with proper distance. She saw the maps and did not move her eyes away from them for long. "Routes for tomorrow." "Yes," I said. "Floor range?" she asked. 8 to 10 for the new 3, I said. "Bell and Luke keep forms today." Loki walked to the window and watched the yard. Bell flinched when he saw her and then kept moving. Luke lost count and restarted. Ragnar looked up once, then looked at Ven. Ven placed his palm down, and the yard stayed quiet. Loki laughed softly. "You got yourself a schedule, cute." Hestia crossed her arms. "Say what you want and leave." Loki looked at me instead. "Friendly spar," she said. "Guild grounds, fin on hand, Reveria healing if needed. We watch, we answer a few questions, we go home." "Why?" Hestia said, flat. "Because you stirred everyone," Loki said without guilt. "Because Apollo tripped over his own feet. Because Freya blinked. Because I like seeing who breaks what. Because my kids get restless if they do not move." Reveria exhaled a quiet breath. "We will keep it measured. The guild prefers controlled exchanges to street incidents." "Neutral space," I said. Reveria nodded. "Neutral space. Guild yard. No live steel if we can avoid it. We bring our own practice gear. You bring yours or use guild stock." Hestia looked between them, then at me. "I hate this." "I know," I said. She took a step forward until she was almost toe to toe with Loki. "No recruitment. No poaching. No comments about anything you think you know." Loki held up both hands, amused. "Relax. I came to look, not to steal." Reveria cut in before Hestia could snap. "We give our word. No recruitment today. We are here to observe and calibrate." Hestia's jaw worked. "Fine, hour, then you leave." Loki grinned wider. "You're cute when you try to make rules." Hestia's twin tails snapped once. "Out." "We're going to the guild yard," I said before she threw them out. "You wanted neutral. This is neutral." She stared at me. "If anyone gets hurt, I will." "I know," I said. Kurama nudged me, soft. "Loki smells like wine." "Always," I said. "Reveria smells like herbs." "She feels careful," he said. "She is," I said. I stepped into the yard. "Bell, Luke, inside, we're going out." Bell trotted in with his wooden sword, flustered. "El Loki Sama, Reveria-san." Luke bowed too low and almost dropped the sword. Gee, good morning. Ragnar and Ven came in last. Ragnar's eyes flicked to Loki's grin and stayed blank. Ven looked at Reveria's hands, and then at her staff, and then back to her eyes. They exchanged a small nod without smile. Pick who you want, I said to Loki. Not eyes. Loki's grin went flat for a second. Why? Because Bell won't stop staring, I said. Bell turned red in the ears. Hestia slapped my shoulder without heat. Reveria's eyes softened by a degree. Understood. Finn, Loki said. Bete, Gareth, Tiona, Reveria for rules. We keep it simple. Agreed, I said. We walked together. Loki let me take the lead through the streets, so it did not look like she was bringing me on a leash. People watched. They always did when her group moved. Hestia kept a half step from me and scowled at anyone who slowed down to stare. The guild yard sat open, swept clean, with racks of practice weapons and a few benches set back for observers. Finn stood near the center with a relaxed smile that never turned careless. Gareth sat on a bench, strapping his gauntlets with slow hands. Bete stood and looked annoyed at the sky for no reason. Tiona waved both arms when she saw us and nearly hit a junior in the face with her hand. Reveria stepped ahead and gave a precise nod to Finn. They agreed. Finn smiled. Welcome. Rules, I said. He ticked them off without thinking. No live edges. Stop on first clean hit when called. No head strikes outside helmets. No joints unless called. Healer on hand if something goes wrong. This is demonstration, not a match. Simple, I said. Loki looked past us toward the yard gate and let out a long, happy sigh. Eyes had walked in quietly with Lefia at her side. Eyes moved without comment, calm and focused. Lefia stayed near Reveria and held her staff in both hands like she always did when she was nervous. Hestia tensed. No. Reveria touched Loki's elbow without looking. Loki rolled her eyes and did not argue. Fine. Eyes watches. Bell went a shade whiter and then forced his gaze down to the dirt. Kurama peered over my shoulder in my head. That girl again. Yes, I said. Bell looks red. Always with her, I said. Finn clapped once light. We keep this quick. First, footwork. Bell walk a path. Tiona match him and show the correction. Reveria calls the count. Bell froze. Tiona jogged to the center, all energy. Let's do it. Hestia grabbed my sleeve. No. It's fine, I said. Reveria spoke in a clear, calm voice. Bell, step forward, left diagonal, reset. Count with me. 1, 2, 3. Bell moved. Tiona mirrored him with ease and then adjusted his heel by bumping it with her toe. She kept her tone cheerful. You're crossing too much. Put your weight where you can move again. Bell nodded too fast and tried again. It went better. His shoulders lowered. He looked grateful and embarrassed at the same time. Hestia puffed her cheeks and tried to look angry and failed. Fine, she muttered. Finn turned to me. Second, strike timing, Shiro. Ragnar, I said. Bete. Bete's head snapped up. What? Ragnar rolled his neck and walked to the center. Bete showed his teeth like a threat and stepped in with impatience. The guild runner brought out 2 padded sticks and helmets. Bete grimaced at the helmet and put it on anyway. Finn raised a hand. Control. Yeah, Bete said. They circled once. Ragnar did not rush. Bete did. He darted in with a fast angle and tapped Ragnar across the ribs before Ragnar's stick could close the line. Clean. Finn's hand went down. Point. Ragnar nodded, expression flat. Bete snorted. That all. Again, Finn said. This time Ragnar let Bete rush and stepped to a half angle that cut distance without a big move. He put his stick against Bete's hip with a simple, solid line. Bete grunted and bared his teeth. Finn's hand went down. Point. Bete looked at Ragnar with new interest. Ragnar did not smile. They went a third time. Bete changed level and came in with a low feint that turned into a sharp high tap. The stick clicked off Ragnar's shoulder. Finn's hand. Point. Done, I said. Bitter ripped the helmet off, hair a mess, eyes sharp now, irritation cleared. He looked at Ragnar like a craftsman looking at a tool that did not match the catalogue. You move clean, he said without snarl. Ragnar nodded once. You are fast. Bitter snorted again and pretended to be bored. He was not bored. Finn pointed at Garm. Durability test, Gareth. Gareth stood with a slow grunt. Aye. He took a blunt mace that fit his hand like he had held it since childhood. Garm picked up a padded shield and set his feet. Finn raised a hand. 3 blows, you hold. We see if you keep your stance. Gareth hit the shield once and Garm's boots slid 1 inch. He hit it again and Garm set deeper and did not move. He hit it a 3rd time and Garm's jaw tightened, but he stayed where he was. Gareth lowered the mace, satisfied. He'll do. Garm blew out a breath and rolled his shoulder once. Again, he said to me. Tomorrow, I told him. Finn glanced at Marin and Tyrone, then at me. I nodded. Tyrone strode out with a practice spear and a smirk. Marin stood straight and did not fidget. They met in the middle. Tyrone pressed forward with speed that would take most people apart. Marin parried the first line and missed the second. Tyrone tapped her chest pad. Finn's hand moved. Point. Tyrone lifted the spear again. Again. Marin nodded once. They moved. Marin took the inside this time and found Tyone's forearm with a clean line that would bruise if not padded. Finn. Point. Tyrone smiled for real. Good. Marin did not smile back. Thank you. Reveria lifted a hand, measuring the pace. Enough. Finn turned to me. Last exchange, you and me. Hestia swore under her breath. No. Yes, Finn said, and he said it with the tone of a teacher in a yard and not a rival. He picked up 2 practice daggers and tossed one to me. I caught it and did not test the weight. It did not matter. No falls, Finn said. 2 touches, stop. I set my feet and let chakra run to my ankles and wrists in a shallow line, not a burst, just enough to tighten starts and stops. Finn watched me, read me, and pretended not to read me. We moved. He closed with a testing slice. I parried and let his blade slide off the flat. He changed angles mid-motion and put the second dagger toward my ribs. I stepped inside the range and touched his shoulder with the hilt of mine. Soft, clear. Finn stopped and nodded. Touch. We reset. He came on a straight line at a speed most people could not see clearly. I did not let him set rhythm. I pressed first with a jab that forced him to adjust a fraction, then pushed off my back foot and cut past his wrist and let the blade kiss his forearm pad. He twisted, fast and clean, and answered by marking my ribs at the same moment. 2 touches in one breath. Finn's eyes glinted with approval. Stop. Reveria's mouth ticked up by a millimeter. Loki clapped twice and grinned. He's fun. Hestia put her palm to her face. You are all insane. Eyes stood still and watched without any expression. Lefia kept her staff low and close to her body and let out the breath she had been holding. Kurama nudged me again. You touched him. I did, I said. He touched you. He did, I said. He is faster. We will be faster later, Kurama said. We will be cleaner, I said. Finn stepped in closer so the conversation stayed between us. You used something when you blocked Otter. You did not use it here. I did not need it, I said. That is good judgment, he said. He turned to Hestia. Your children listen. Keep that. It matters more than tricks. Hestia's shoulders lowered by a notch. They listened to him. Finn nodded. Then keep him fed. Loki stretched her arms over her head until her spine popped. That was nice. No one died. No one cried. Hestia did not set anything on fire. Hestia glared at her. Get out of my day. Loki laughed. Later. Reveria stepped forward to me. Recruitment methods. Hestia bristled. Stop. Reveria did not look away from me. I am asking for my notes, not for my god. Contracts, I said. Clean transfers, food and gear first. Dungeons second. I pick the teams. No one burns out on day one. If they break rules, they leave. If they survive, they stay. Riveria held my eyes for a steady count. Then she nodded once. Keep it contained. Always, I said. Finn looked past me at Belle. You are still crossing your feet. Belle jolted and tried to fix it. Why, yes. Tiona laughed and fixed it again with her toe. Like that. Betes snorted. He'll trip anyway. Ragnar glanced at him. He will not. Betes lifted his chin, then smirked. We'll see. Gareth finished strapping his gauntlet and stood. You got bodies and you got order. Don't lose either. Noted, I said. Eyes took one step toward Belle. He stopped breathing. She paused, searched for words, and found them in a simple line. Keep your guard up. Belle bowed so fast he almost fell over. Why, yes. Hestia tugged his sleeve and moved him behind her like a curtain. Loki waved her hand. We're done. Good show. She snapped her fingers once. Riveria, pay the guild for the yard. I'll send someone with bread to the Shorty's church so she does not starve her brats out of spite. Hestia lunged forward. I don't need your bread. Loki blew her a kiss just to be annoying and turned. Finn nodded to me. Gareth gave Garm a slow up and down and a grunt that meant approval. Betes shoved his hands into his pockets and pretended not to care. Tiona waved with both arms again. Eyes looked at Belle one more time and then left without changing her pace. Leffia hurried after Riveria. They were gone as quickly as they had come. Hestia stood in the middle of the yard and took a deep breath. She let it out slowly. I survived that. You did, I said. She looked at me. Do not make me do that again soon. No promises, I said. She glared without heat, hopeless. Belle came up next to me, face red. She spoke to me. I saw, I said. He nodded too many times again. I will keep my guard up. Do that, I said. Luke moved to Marin and showed her the bracer straps he had been tying wrong for a week. She fixed his knots with clean, small moves. He whispered thanks. She nodded once and said nothing else. Ragnar bumped Garm's shoulder with his fist. Tomorrow. Tomorrow, Garm said. Ven looked at Sina. Do you run when you get scared? She looked him in the eyes. I run when I'm told. I cut when I'm told. He nodded. Good. Kurama settled against the back of my mind, pleased. We did not fight. We still ate yesterday. We will eat today. Yes, I said. We walked back to the house. The city did what it always did. It watched, then it moved on. At the table, I opened the ledger and added a line under training. Loki yard notes, Bell footwork, Ragnar slash Betet timing, Garm shield, Marin inside line. I wrote a circle next to Sina root discipline, needs test. Hestia made tea she called medicine again and set a cup in front of me with a little more force than needed. You owe me. I paid your debt, I said. She puffed her cheeks and drank her own tea in 3 gulps. Hopeless. Bell wiped his new blade with oil like Einar showed him. Luke went to the yard to repeat the path with the correction. Ragnar sat on the step. Ven walked the fence. Garm stretched his back until it popped and stopped when it did. Sina counted laps. Marin sanded a rough patch on the spear haft until it felt right in her palms. I closed the ledger. Kurama yawned in my head. Nap. Eat first, I said, then nap. Okay, he said, happy. I stood. Food. Hestia pointed at me. You're cooking. Correct, I said. She snorted, but her mouth tugged up. I went to the kitchen and turned on the flame. Chapter 44. Live test on 8. Morning started with checks. Bell and Luke moved through slow cuts in the yard without power. Ragnar counted every step under his breath and did not look away. Ven tapped ankles and knees with a knuckle when their lines drifted. Garm finished his push-ups and stretched his wrists until they popped. Sina ran laps around the fence and kept a steady pace. Marin sat with a spear across her knees and watched the gate. Hestia stood beside the table with her arms crossed. She watched me sort pouches and maps. You do this too fast. I do it on time, I said. I slid 3 folded root sheets into a leather cover and set it down. Floor 8 to 10, 2 hours down, 1 hour around, 1 hour back. No nests, no split roots. Ragnar stepped inside, heard the end of that, and nodded once. Understood. Ven leaned against the doorframe. We keep them close. Correct, I said. I pointed at each in turn. Garm, you anchor. You don't chase anything. If it runs, let Ven or Ragnar decide. Sina, no solo chases. No throwing anything past the line unless Ven calls it. If you throw, you retrieve only when Ragnar tells you. Marin, you poke where I point or where Ven points. You do not lunge into a gap unless you hear it. Sina rolled her shoulders. I don't like waiting. Good, I said. Learn it. Garm dipped his chin. Aye. Marin's grip slid to her preferred place on the shaft and stayed there. Clear. Hestia made a small sound. I still don't like this. You don't have to like it, I said. Bell stopped his blade at the top of an angle and looked between me and Hestia. What do we do? You stay and drill, I said. You and Luke work forms and breath with Hestia. We swap at midday. Then you go down 1 circuit with Ragnar and Ven. Luke swallowed. Okay. Hestia put her hands on both of their shoulders and squeezed. You listen to me now. He gets you later. Kurama stirred, warm and attentive. Wolves take the new ones. Yes, I told him. We watch the first climb. I will watch too, he said. Watch and be quiet unless I ask, I said. Okay, he said. I handed Ragnar a pouch with spare straps and a roll of clean bandage. He tucked both into his pack without comment. Ven took the smoke pouches, tied them under his belt, then tied them again to be sure. I gave Marin a spare short spearhead with a proper cap on it. I handed Sina a coil of light cord and a small hook and watched her tuck it down her back so it wouldn't snag. Formation, I said. Ven front, Ragnar center, Marin left, Garm right, Sina behind Ven by 2 paces. I take rear on the first floor. After I see you set, I slide out to the wall and watch. Hestia's jaw tightened. You are going too. I am, I said. Bell's eyes widened. I want to. You stay here, I said. He shut his mouth and nodded. We left the house. The street moved like normal. No watchers at the corner. No slow walkers trailing our line. Ragnar and Ven both checked once and relaxed without saying it out loud. Inside Babel, I paid for cheap helmets and checked the straps myself. Garm adjusted his without fuss. Sina grimaced and wore it anyway. Marin tightened hers twice and tapped the rim to test how much it wobbled. We went down. Floor 8 smelled like damp stone and old air. Ven lifted a palm without turning and everyone stopped. War shadows pressed out of 3 cracks at once. He didn't call a count. He moved. Ragnar took the middle one with a snap forward and raked it across the chest with a wide, clean line. Marin stepped and thrust to the throat of the left one. Garm took a half step and let the right one hit his shield and then crushed its neck with a short snap of his mace. Sina started to dart past Ven. He blocked her with his forearm without looking at her. Back. She set her teeth, looked at me, then moved to her spot behind him. Keep it, I said. Kurama hummed, pleased. Clean. Correct, I said. 2 goblins broke a crack too late and ran at our backs. I moved past Garm without brushing him and cut both with short draws. The stones hit the ground with 2 muted clacks. I didn't look down to count them. Ragnar looked up from the stones. He was already kicking into a single pile. She wants speed. I know, I said. Sina stared at the stones. Ven bumped her with his elbow. She looked up and set herself. We moved again. The first corridor turn held nothing. Ven's hand lifted again at the second. Dungeon lizard. It dropped from a ledge above the path with its throat low. Garm braced. Ragnar pointed. Left, now. Marin went left. Her spearhead met the joint at the base of the lizard's jaw. Ven stepped inside the swipe and pushed the snout aside with a forearm block. Sina's hand twitched toward the back to throw a knife. Ven shook his head once. She didn't throw. Ragnar's follow-up raked across the shoulder while it was extended. Garm finished with a single straight hit to the skull when it hit the shield. Marin stepped back and reset her grip mid-shaft. She didn't grin. She didn't look around for praise. She breathed in and out until her hands steadied under the weight of the spear again. Kurama pressed close. That sound. Bones, I said. It is loud, he said, puzzled. You get used to it, I said. We took the long route along the wall to limit side spawns. Ven tested the floor before each curve. Once he stopped and crouched. He sniffed the crack. He set 2 fingers on the stone and waited a heartbeat. Holes, he said. Skip. Ragnar changed angle without a word, and we went the long way. No one argued. We hit 2 pockets of kobolds with nothing behind them. Garm took 3 blows on the shield that would have knocked Bell over last week. He didn't shift his feet. Sina drifted left twice, and Ven touched her wrist with his claws to remind her of the line. She started to match his pace after that. We reached the stairs down to 9. I checked faces. No heavy breathing, no limp, no wide eyes. I nodded and pointed down. 1 sweep, then back up. Ven went first again. I dropped to the rear and let 10 paces build so I could see the picture. Ragnar kept his pace steady. Garm's boots stayed under him. Marin kept her lead hand crisp. Sina dragged 1 toe on a rock once and corrected herself quietly. 2 war shadows came heavy and wrong from a patch too tight. Ven called, stop, and everyone obeyed on the first breath. He let them pass the front line and then slashed both down the spine with 2 clean lines because the timing was right. They dropped without a sound beyond the body hit. Ragnar rolled them with a boot to make sure they were stones. We found a lizard near the stairs to 10. We did not chase it past the line. I put my palm on Sina's shoulder when she started to lean and held pressure without pushing. She exhaled and set back. Kurama brightened. She is learning. She is, I said. Down and up, I said to Ven. He glanced at me and then went down the first 3 steps to 10. He set his hand on the wall and waited. One ant marched out single and clean into the second step. Not a swarm, not a chain. 1, he said. Ragnar swapped to a shorter blade. Marin set her spear beside his shoulder and waited. Garm lowered his shield to cover waist to thigh. Sina put her hand to the cord and did not pull it off. Now, I said. Ragnar and Marin stepped together and cut both front legs. Garm stepped in and crushed the head with a short downward strike when it fell. Sina stayed off to the side and watched the cracks. Ven watched the ceiling. No second ant. Back, I said. We moved up 1 flight, then along a short loop, then back to the 8 stairs without taking anything extra. No one argued. Ragnar bumped Garm's forearm with his knuckles once. Garm didn't change his face, but his ears flicked. We stopped in a safe corner on 8 to drink and wrap one of Marin's fingers where the pole had shifted. I checked Sina's palms without asking and put a strip of cloth under her thumb so the cord wouldn't cut skin if she had to use it. I checked Garm's nails and cut one that broke before it tore deeper. Ragnar stood with his back to the wall and hid the break he took from a kobold's weak bite until I tilted my head at it. He shrugged. I wrapped it anyway. He didn't fight me about it. That mattered. We went up and out without taking extra fights. We passed 2 teams that looked us over and decided we weren't worth bumping. Ven kept the pace slow enough that their echo didn't tangle with ours. He did it on purpose. Ragnar pretended not to notice and let him. At the surface, the light felt heavier. Sina squinted and then let her eyes relax. Garm rolled his neck side to side until it cracked. Marin took her helmet off and rubbed her forehead with the heel of her hand. Exchange, I said. House, eat. Hestia swaps Bell and Luke in. Ragnar checked the sun's angle and nodded. He counted under his breath and matched it to nothing but his own sense of time. We walked back through Babel. Einar was on break near the exchange counters drinking water. She saw our group and looked for the tail. She found our 3 new faces and did the math. She frowned at me over the rim of the cup. I lifted a hand to say, later. She set the cup down and mouthed, "Clean your gear," like my mother, and a guild advisor at the same time. Then she went back to her desk because that was her job. At the house, Hestia opened the door before I knocked. Her eyes went straight to hands and faces, then to bags. "No cuts. Good." "One," I said. I lifted Marin's finger. "Fixed." Hestia touched Marin's knuckle with 2 fingers and nodded once when the swelling was not bad. "Eat. Then beds for 20 minutes. Then you show me your swings for 10 minutes. Then you sleep again." Marin looked at me. I nodded. She nodded. Sina took 2 slices of bread from the plate and chewed fast because she followed directions when they were simple. Garm sat on the floor to keep his back honest and ate from his own knees like he had done it in barracks before. Bell and Luke stood up 2 straight by the door in clean gear. Bell bounced once on the balls of his feet and then made himself stop when he saw Ven look at him. Luke's eyes were wide and focused, but not wild. Hestia straightened both of their collars with steady fingers and then smoothed both heads of hair with 2 quick strokes. "Don't die," she said to them flatly. "Yes," they said in chorus. I handed Ragnar a shorter route sheet. 8 only, down, around, 1 slow lizard, 2 shadow clusters. If a third shows, you pull back. Bell takes front left. Luke holds right behind Garm. If either of them freeze for more than 1 step, you switch them behind Marin. You call it. Ven calls stop. If Bell starts chasing anything with blonde hair, you slap him. Ven grinned. "Done." Bell turned crimson. "I will not." "You will," I said. "Don't." He nodded too fast. "Right." We left again. Hestia stood in the door until we turned the corner. I didn't look back. Kurama did. "She is worried." "She always is," I said. We took the same entry. Ven went first. He kept the pace slower with Bell and Luke. Ragnar set rotation without needing a paper. He placed Marin on Bell's left at first for the first 2 turns to teach him spacing with a long weapon. Bell shortened his steps on the second turn. He corrected on the third. First spawn came as planned, 2 war shadows. Ven rolled his hand and pointed left. Bell took left and did not overswing. He set his feet and cut once clean. Luke stepped right and lifted his guard to a proper high line. Garm covered the gap down low. Ragnar finished both with quick second hits when the lines opened. "Breathe," I said. Bell exhaled on command. Luke matched him. Second spawn was heavier by 1, 3 shadows. Ven called stop, and Sina echoed his voice in my head because that was how she would do it. Marin stepped once to keep the point between them and Bell. Bell did not step backward. Ragnar touched his shoulder guard with a knuckle. Bell stopped shaking. They finished without scrapes. Luke looked down at the stones and then up at me. I nodded. He didn't smile. He breathed out again. A lizard came sloppy out of a crack at the next turn. Ven barked, left, and Luke moved left even though it was not his side because the path needed it. Garm shifted right to fill the hole, and Marin stepped in and tapped the jaw hinge with a clean thrust. The head bobbed. Ragnar raked and Garm slammed. It dropped. Kurama thumped a tail against the back of my head. "They are learning." "They are," I said. I let a small thread of chakra trickle into my ankles again to cut 1 stride into 2 short ones without a hop, so I didn't trip on loose stone behind Garm. I didn't push more than that. No one needed to see anything flash. We finished the loop without a mess. Ven took them past a crack with fresh scrape marks and did not slow down. Ragnar counted stones by 10s in his head. Marin didn't waste a check. Garm held the line like an iron door. Bell kept his feet from crossing. Luke kept his blade high. On the way up, we passed a loud team carrying 3 broken spears. Ven moved our formation to the left and kept moving. Bell looked once and then looked away. Luke looked and did not see anything useful and looked away too. Good. The sun hit the top of the stairs. Bell flinched and smiled at the sky by accident. I ignored it. We exited. At the guild, Einar looked up at once and marched to us. She put both hands on the counter and then dropped them again because she did not want to look like a mother. She looked at Belle and Luke and then at me. Report. 8 only, I said. 2 lizard engagements. 5 shadow engagements. No unnecessary movement. No injuries. No wasted knives. She exhaled. Good. She narrowed her eyes at Sina, who had come into the hall to lean against the wall 20 minutes earlier and drink water because Hestia had sent her to get proper bottles. And you? Sina raised her cup. I did not run. Einar looked at Ven. He nodded once without expression. She stayed. Einar made notes and then looked at Hestia's cut of the paperwork. I will process these after lunch. All of you will clean your gear today. If I see dirty straps tomorrow, I will tell Maich, and he will make medicine taste like old socks. Belle blanched. Luke nodded as if he accepted a court sentence. Ragnar looked like someone had told him the weather. Ven did not change his face. We left. Hestia's door opened again before we reached it. She counted bodies with her eyes and then set her mouth in a firm line. Kitchen, eat, then naps. Then you show me everything with your feet inside the yard where I can see it. We ate in silence. Kurama hummed when I set meat on the plate. Good day. Good enough, I said. After naps, Hestia made Belle and Luke run the path through the yard at half speed. She made Sina mirror Belle's steps with her eyes closed. Sina hated it and did it anyway. Garm practiced with the mace and shield on the spot in the corner. Marin sanded a rough patch on the spear haft that had raised under her palm and tested it again and sanded it once more. Ragnar sat on the step and rolled his shoulder until the brake I had wrapped loosened properly. Ven walked the fence and turned the latch on the gate twice just to test the sound because that was how he counted the day. I opened the ledger and wrote the numbers. I wrote short notes next to each name. Garm, stable anchor, add short shield bash cues. Sina, route discipline improved when blocked, test retrieval drills with cord. Marin, inside line clean, watch left wrist fatigue. Belle, no cross, still lifts shoulders under surprise. Luke, guard stayed up, needs turns under pressure. Ragnar, shoulder bruise monitored. Ven, calls tight, keep cordon language short. Hestia came to the table with tea and put a cup down in front of me with a firm little thud. You are still making them work with no thanks. I pay them, I said. She sighed and touched Belle's hair as he passed behind her again. He made a little sound like a cat being petted and then pretended he hadn't. Luke smirked once and then set his face straight when Hestia looked at him. Kurama stretched inside my head and yawned. More food later. Yes, I said. Good, he said, satisfied. I counted coin and split it by the rules. 50% to Kurama's reserve, 25 to me. 10 into the emergency pouch I tied high behind the cupboard. 10 into supplies. 5 into Hestia's small wooden box that she pretended not to look at and always looked at. I slid the guild receipts into the ledger and tied the cord. I stood and clapped my hands once. Everyone looked up. Tomorrow we repeat. Sina, you will throw twice on command and retrieve twice, no more and no less. Marin, you will take point once on a safe run and then drop back. Garm, you will hold against 3 hits again. Belle, you will do turns with your eyes open and not your head down. Luke, you will speak the direction when you step. Ragnar, you call swaps. Ven, you stop chases. Ragnar nodded. Ven clicked his tongue once. Belle swallowed and smiled. Luke muttered right under his breath. Sina rolled her neck. Marin said, yes. Garm grunted, which meant yes. I went to the kitchen and started the fire. Kurama purred. Now food. Now food, I said. We cooked, we ate, we reset blades, we set gear to dry. Then the house was quiet. Chapter 45, Iron and Terms. Morning kept its shape. Belle and Luke drilled without power in the yard. Ragnar counted their steps. Ven tapped ankles and adjusted knees with one knuckle. Garm finished push-ups and stretched his wrists until they popped. Sina ran laps and kept the pace steady. Marin sat with the spear across her knees and watched the gate. Hestia stood by the table with her arms crossed, watching me sort pouches, straps, and a list. Kurama stirred, warm. We go to the fireplace. Hephaestus branch, I said in my head. Straps, a new spear shaft, braces, rivets, and oil. And food after. Yes. Hestia eyed the list. You buy too much. I buy what we use, I said. I slid 3 guild receipts under the ledger cord and closed it. Bell, Luke, come. Marin, bring the spear. Ragnar, you and Ven hold the yard. Garm, check the shield bolts. Sina, you will measure the distances in the yard and call them out loud until you are bored. Sina grimaced. Boring. Good, I said. Hestia stepped closer. Do not buy anything stupid. I never do, I said. She snorted. Hopeless. We went out. Bell walked light and nervous, hands careful on his sheath. Luke moved steady but swallowed every 4th step. Marin carried the spear upright and kept it from scraping door frames without looking. Babel's lower halls were busy. I took a side street and cut toward a Hephaestus branch I liked. The sign was plain, no banners. The front room smelled like oil and coal. Racks of ready-made blades, braces, and repair kits lined the walls. A counter held a bell that no one touched. The quartermaster from last time looked up, scar on the lip, practical face. Back. Need straps, I said, placing my list on the counter. 6 pairs, 2 sets of braces, medium and small, 1 spare mace handle, 1 spear shaft, ash, straight grain, no knots, and rivets, a lot. He glanced at Bell and Luke, then at Marin's spear. You ran them yesterday. Yes, I said. He grunted approval. Wait. He turned, opened the side door, and shouted into the forge. Orders. Heat breathed through the hall with the word. Kurama perked up. Smells good. Fire and oil, I said. Footsteps came from the back. A red-haired smith in a simple shirt and apron stepped through the doorway, wiping his hands on a rag. Ponytail tied back. Red eyes alert, a little bored until he saw our mix of gear. He stopped, took in Bell's cheap short sword, Luke's 2 clean braces, Marin's worn spearhead, and the set of straps I laid out for replacement. His expression changed to focus. Welf, the quartermaster said, take this. Welf Crozo looked at us again, slower. Hephaestus familiar Smith, Welf, what do you want? Straps, braces, shaft, rivets, handle, I said. And I want you to look at these idiots' hands before I buy something wrong. Bell stiffened, Luke flushed, Marin didn't move. Welf set the rag down and came around the counter. He held out his hand. Sword. Bell handed it over with both hands, embarrassed. Welf looked down the edge and snorted. Cheap but straight. You oiled it. Good. He flipped it in his palm, tested the balance, turned his wrist and handed it back. Grip is wrong for you. Too thick. You're choking your fingers to keep it from turning. Bell wilted. Sorry. Welf frowned. Don't apologize. Fix it. He held out his hand again. Bracer. Luke gave him his arm. Welf tightened the strap with 2 fast pulls and rotated the buckle so it sat flat against bone. You're letting it ride high. That will tear your wrist if you parry wrong. He wrapped Luke's knuckles with 2 fingers. You need calluses. Stop over-oiling. Luke nodded fast. Yes. Welf stepped to Marin. He took the spearhead she was carrying and set it on the counter without letting it touch the wood. He rolled the shaft in his palm. His eyebrows lifted at the rough spot. Who sanded this? Me, Marin said. He felt the patch with the ball of his thumb and nodded once. You felt the rise. It caught, she said. Good, you fixed it before it cut you. He looked at the head. You want ash, you asked right. He eyed me. You know what you're asking for. I want what will survive tomorrow, I said. Welf nodded and looked at me properly for the first time. Payment. Up front, I said. No haggling. The quartermaster snorted like a laugh and went to pull items. Welf didn't smile. He pointed at Bell and Luke. Hands. They put them out. He looked at cuts, calluses, and the way they held tension. He pressed on Bell's thumb base and watched his face. He pressed on Luke's palm and watched the reaction. Bell flinched and steadied. Luke set his jaw and didn't pull away. Welf grunted. They work. He stepped back and folded his arms. And you walk like you don't plan to carry anything heavy. Correct, I said. Do you break gear? He said. No, I said. I pay before it breaks. Welf wiped his hands again slower. You need custom grips. This one, he pointed at Bell, gets a thinner handle with a little ridge to catch his palm. This one, he nodded at Luke, needs a strap that doesn't slide under sweat. Use rawhide inside. Budget, the quartermaster called from the back. Not cheap, Welf said. Correct, I said, bored. Value rich, do it right. Kurama hummed. He cares about their hands. He cares about his work, I said. Welf looked at Marin again. You'll need a second shaft. You're not breaking this one today, but you will soon enough. Ash is fine. I'll pick a piece with straight grain and no knot under your grip. Marin held his eyes for a second and nodded once. Thank you. Welf flicked his gaze toward Bell and Luke. Heard about your war game. He smirked at me, but it didn't reach his eyes. That's loud. It worked, I said. And you paid Hester's debt, he said flatly. Yes, I said. He looked at his hands, then at the forge door. Hephaestus-sama was not mad, just, he searched for the word and then let it go. Practical. Correct, I said. Hester hated this sort of shop talk. She wasn't here, so it went fast. The quartermaster returned with boxes and bundles. Straps, rivets, braces, medium and small, mace handle, ash shaft. He set them on the counter in a line. Pay. I counted coin by weight and placed it down. He checked one stack, then the next. Welf didn't watch. He folded the new straps into pairs, checked holes, and dropped them into my pack. He laid the ash shaft along the table, sighted down it, and rolled it slow. It didn't wobble. He nodded. He looked at Bell. Hold the new bracer. He strapped it tight himself and set the angle on Bell's forearm with the exact pressure needed. Bell's eyes widened. That's better. Don't change it, Welf said. He looked at Luke's bracer and loosened a strap. You can breathe now. Luke exhaled slow and allowed himself a small smile. Welf turned to me. What about the shield? Garm holds around, I said. Strapped, thick rim. Let me see it, he said. Not here, I said. Tomorrow. Welf nodded. Bring it, he paused. I won't sell you a magic sword. I didn't ask for one, I said. He watched my face for 3 steady counts and then looked away. Good. Bell looked between us, confused. Luke kept quiet and turned the bracer on his arm to feel the strap bite. The side door opened again. Hephaestus stepped in. Red hair tied back, eye patch covering one eye. The visible eye took in the counter, the stack of rivets, Welf's posture, and our faces. She stopped 3 steps from us. Shiro, she said. Correct, I said. Her gaze moved to Bell and Luke. You're still standing. Bell bowed too fast. Goddess Hephaestus, yes. Luke followed stiffly. Good morning. Hephaestus looked at Marin's spearhead and then the ash shaft. You picked right. Your man did, I said, nodding at Welf. Her lips twitched a fraction, not a smile. He knows wood. Welf looked down, ears red. I know shafts, he muttered. Then he seemed to realize what he said and grimaced. Hephaestus ignored it. You came to buy again. Yes, I said. Don't drag my name into your street fights, she said. I don't, I said. Good, she said. She looked at Welf. Keep boundaries. Welf nodded. Yes. She left as cleanly as she came. Kurama whispered softly. The fire lady again. She runs the place, I said. She is calm, he said. Yes. Welf cleared his throat. Commissions. Later, I said. He raised an eyebrow. I can fit grips now. You can measure, I said. Put 2 grip samples in a bag. We will test them tonight. I'll pay for both. If they fail, you will hear me complain. He snorted. If they fail, I'll make you a better one. Good, I said. He set 2 sample handles on the counter, one slim, one with a slight ridge and a flat oval. Try both. Use the ridge on the boy's sword, oval for the other. Names, Belle said, embarrassed. I'm Belle. Luke, Luke said. Welf, Welf said. He looked at Belle. Don't stare at people's faces when you swing. Belle went red. Aye. Look at the chest, Welf said, deadpan. Feet lie. Chest tells you where they're going. Belle nodded fast. Right. Welf looked at Luke. You stop lifting your shoulders. You waste strength. Luke dropped them immediately and set his chin. Got it. He glanced at Marin's hands a last time. Tape the web here tonight before you sleep. He pointed to the spot between thumb and finger. You won't split skin tomorrow. Marin nodded. Thanks. I put coin down for the extra samples. Welf pushed it back. Bring me notes instead, how it sits, what slips after sweat, what cuts. I don't want your praise, I want the truth. Easy, I said. He paused. Also bring your shield. Garm S, I said. Bring it, he said. He packed the gear into a bundle himself. He tied it so it would not shift when I moved. He pulled the knots with neat, tight motions and slid the bundle across the counter. Do you want a strap loop for the knives? He asked, looking at nothing in particular. I looked at Sina's outline at where she hid knives. Make a bandolier with 5 loops and 2 dummy slots. Left shoulder. Light. No jingle. Done, he said. Come back at twilight. Hestia would yell about errands that late, but she would live. We left the branch. Bell kept his head down until we cleared the door and then let out a breath in a rush. He was scary. He was practical, I said. Luke touched his bracer with 2 fingers and smiled. This feels right. Marin carried the new shaft low and light and kept it from hitting anyone. Good wood. Right grain, I said. Kurama hummed. Food now. House first, I said. Drills, then food. Back home, the yard kept moving. Ragnar looked up from the steps and saw the bundle. Good. Ven looked at the straps and the rivets and nodded. We can fix everything at once. Hestia put her hands on her hips. You're back. You didn't bring snacks. Later, I said. She groaned. We cleared the table. I unwrapped the bundle. Ragnar sorted straps by length and whole pattern without comment. Ven checked buckles for burrs. Marin held the ash shaft at 3 different points and tested balance. Bell tried the sample grip with the ridge and blinked in surprise. This. Keep your thumb off the ridge, I said. Rest your palm against it. Don't choke the handle. He shifted his hand. His eyes widened again. Oh. Luke tested the oval. This makes sense. Then use it, I said. We swapped handles on Bell's sword and Luke's practice blade. Welf's samples fit well enough for a test. Ragnar peened 2 rivets with a slow, steady rhythm. Ven counted the taps for each side under his breath so they matched. Bell and Luke oil-wiped blades and braces while we waited. Hestia watched with a look that was half irritation and half approval. She poured tea and called it medicine. She put a cup in front of me with the usual thump. You better not owe that boy anything more than coin. I owe him feedback, I said. She nodded once. That's fine. Kurama snickered softly. She likes him. She likes the way he works, I said. We took an hour for gear and straps. Ragnar replaced Bell's bracer straps with new ones and cut the old ones into short ties. For Sina, he said. Sina scowled at the yard and kept running laps. He tossed the ties into a bowl by the door without telling her. She would take them when no one looked. Marin swapped her spearhead onto the new shaft with slow care. She sanded a spot once and tested the grip again. Better. Good, I said. Bell stepped into the yard with the new handle. He cut the same diagonal he practiced every morning. It was cleaner. Luke followed. He stopped lifting his shoulders. Hestja's foot tapped. Okay, that's nice. Correct, I said. We ate early. Hestja put bread and meat on the table and called me cheap. I put extra on the plates and called her dramatic. Belle smiled, Luke sighed, Ragnar smirked, Ven pretended not to laugh, Garm ate fast. Sina stole an extra heel of bread when Hestja turned around, Marin chewed slow and steady. After food, drills. Belle and Luke ran their forms. Marin took short thrusts only, no lunges. Garm practiced blocks. Sina marked distances in the yard in loud voice from memory. Ragnar and Ven walked the fence and checked the latch twice. Then we went back to the branch shop at twilight. Mia's tavern drew a crowd a street over. The forge burned hot and steady here. The quartermaster looked up and jerked his chin at the side door. Welf. We stepped through to the workroom. Welf stood over a bench with leather and straps laid out. He held a narrow bandolier with 5 loops and 2 dummy slots, just like I wanted. For the cat, he said. Sina took it and tried not to look happy. She strapped it over her left shoulder. It fit with no rattle. She pulled a knife from nowhere, slid it into a loop and shook herself. No sound. Welf nodded once. Good. He held out a hand. Shield. Garm set the round on the bench. Welf ran his fingers along the rim, checking for gaps. He pressed along the wood and then the boss. He flipped it and felt the straps. He frowned. Straps are wrong. You're fighting them. Garm grunted. It holds. Welf shook his head. He pulled a strap tool from the bench and loosened the lower strap 2 holes, tightened the upper one, and shifted the angle by a finger width. He rechecked the rim. Hold. Garm slid his arm in. He moved the shield in a slow arc and stopped. Heat rose in his face. Better. Don't argue with me, Welf said, satisfied. Garm huffed and allowed himself a small smile. Welf turned to Marin with a strip of tape. Hold your hand. She spread her thumb and forefinger. He taped the web quick and clean. Don't tear skin tomorrow. Marin nodded. He handed Belle a grip wrap. If you like the ridge, I'll make a full handle to match your hand. Bring notes. Belle bowed. I will. He looked at Luke's bracer strap. Don't touch it, he said. Luke held his hands up. I won't. He set the fee for the bandolier and strap work. I paid it. He pushed back 2 coins. You paid for handles already. Keep it, I said. He regarded me for a moment and pocketed the coins with a shrug. I don't argue with money. Smart, I said. Hephaestus stepped in again by chance as we finished. She took in the bandolier, the shield, the shaft, and the way we were standing. Done. Done, Welf said. She looked at me. Don't trip over your own purchases. I won't, I said. She left. Welf wiped his hands and glanced at the forge. If you swing hard enough to break that shaft in 2 runs, I want to see the pieces. Noted, I said. Sina touched the dummy loops and finally allowed the happiest look she had shown since we bought her. These are smart. Don't lose knives, Welf said. She scowled at him. I don't lose knives. Good, he said. We left. Bell kept his face up. He liked the handle enough to forget himself. Luke held his forearm at different angles to feel the strap. Garm carried the shield with his elbow free. Marin set her grip on the shaft and didn't change it. Ragnar walked in the rear, Ven in the front, and both moved like no one would try anything in the light. Kurama pressed against my mind, pleased. Good day. Good day, I said. Back home, Hestja met us at the door with narrowed eyes. You went twice. Correct, I said. She did not shout. She touched Bell's shoulder and pressed down until he dropped his shoulders another inch. Better. Bell laughed softly. He told me the same thing. She puffed her cheeks. Of course he did. We ate again. After we cleaned up, I sat with the ledger and wrote notes. Welf Crozo Hephaestus familiar. Good eye, hates waste, refuses magic swords, reliable for grips, straps, shafts, bandoliers. Pays in results, not flattery. Gear Bell Ridge grip test, Luke Oval grip test. Marin ash shaft fit. Garm strap angle fixed. Sina bandolier loops 5+2. Follow-up shield inspection again after 3 runs. Grip notes to Welf. Knife retrieval drill for Sina. Kurama yawned in my head. Sleep now. Soon, I said. Bell came to the table and looked at the ledger. He traced the line that said his name with one finger and smiled. I like this grip. Then don't change it, I said. Luke stood at the doorway and bounced his bracer against his hip to feel the weight. It doesn't slip. Good, I said. Ragnar leaned on the door frame and watched the street. Ven sat on the step, counting breaths. Garm stood in the corner and held the shield, up and down, until his arm warmed and stopped complaining. Sina moved the knives onto the loops slow and careful. Marin ran a cloth over the spearhead and checked the tape Welf had placed. Hestia put a cup of tea down in front of me. You spent a lot. I spent correctly, I said. She made a face and sipped her own tea. I closed the ledger and let the house settle.